We'll now call the Common Council meeting to order in the city of Oak Creek on March 18th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Here.
Lorik.
Here.
Ritz.
Here.
Marshall. Here. Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Here. Everybody, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Steve, you want to start us out?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item 3 is the approval of minutes of March 4th, 2025. Everybody take a moment to look them over. When you're satisfied there's no errors, omissions, or corrections or discussion, motion. We'll call for a motion.
Lorik moves to approve the minutes of March 4th, 2025.
Ritzel, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye. Okay, item 4 is the first of one of 2 public hearings, and it is for a comp plan use amendment. It's for consideration of an amendment to the City of Oak Creek 2020 Comprehensive Plan Use category from business park to commercial for the properties located at 10700, 10820, and 10840 South 27th Street. Catherine, would you read that in the record?
Certainly. Public hearing number 1 is to consider an amendment to the City of Oak Creek 2020 Comprehensive Plan Land Use category from business park to commercial for the properties located at 10700, 10820, and 10840 South 27th Street. Applicant is David Scott Ratcliffe, Bucky's Limited, and Eric Tracy, Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc., property owner, Greenland Investors, LLP. There follows the legal description. Date of notice, February 12th, 2025.
Thank you, Catherine. Christy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the Common Council. Christy Lane, Community Development Director. Item 4 and the ordinance, item number 5, are tied together, but also items number 6 and 7 on the agenda are very much related to items 4 and 5 on the agenda. We will formally, of course, have 2 different public hearings, but I just wanted to explain, I can't really talk about one without talking about the other. So there will be some commingling in just the explanation of the project regarding both ordinances on the agenda this evening. So the first item before you is a public hearing for a comprehensive land use map amendment. This is regarding 3 properties in the very southwest corner of the city. The properties are currently zoned A1 limited agriculture and RS2 single family residential. And the proposal that came before the city with a formal application is to amend the comprehensive land use map for these 3 parcels and also to rezone the 3 parcels. So we'll start off with just some basics. What is a comprehensive land use plan? It's actually a requirement by the state of Wisconsin Department of Administration. Every municipality must have one. The city of Oak Creek updated their comprehensive land use plan in 2020. And the state does mandate that the municipalities, towns, villages, all update to theirs every 10 years. So the city's last update was 5 years ago. It's a very public process. We have public meetings and public engagement meetings and just a lot of involvement with the community about what they see the future being for land use when it comes to literally every single parcel in the city. So as I mentioned, the comprehensive plan is a local government's guide to a community physical, social, and economic development. Their plan's not meant to serve as land use regulations, not necessarily law, but it's a guide. The community gets its globe out and says, what do we see for the next 20 years as far as development goes for every single parcel in the city? So instead, they provide rational basis for local land use decisions with a 20-year vision. So the city's 2020 comprehensive plan has 13 categories. All the colors that you see here identify different categories. The 2 that we'll be talking about this evening are the commercial and business park land use categories, again, identified in the very southwest corner of the city. So kind of a larger overview of the area that we're discussing this evening. The 3 parcels that are applied for to make the amendment are identified and highlighted in the yellow. These in the 2020 plan have been identified as business park. So anything you see in green in the map in front of you was identified as business park. Again, this is not a zoning layer, but it's a guide. This is the type of use that the city foresaw when they adopted the plan in 2020. You see other land use areas. To the west is a village, is Franklin, so there's no colors on the west side of 27th Street. But you see some park and open space, and you see single family attached identified by the orange, and single family detached identified by the blue. So again, zooming in, to the 3 parcels that we're discussing this evening. Currently, the existing comprehensive land use map identifies these 3 parcels as business park. The application that is before you to consider this evening is to change those 3 parcels for a future land use map to identify them as commercial. The existing zoning, you cannot rezone a parcel if it doesn't meet the comprehensive land use plan and category that's identified, if it doesn't fit into that category. So what we have for existing zoning is the gray is identified as A1, limited agriculture, and the yellow is identified as single family. So these 3 parcels that we're talking about this evening are a mix of 2 different zoning districts, A1 and RS2. And the applicant has proposed to rezone these parcels to B6, which is a commercial district. That B6, that rezone, needs to meet the comprehensive land use map category. It doesn't necessarily meet business park, so that's why the applicant applied to change the comp plan first to commercial, where the B6 category would appropriately fit under. So the proposal is to change the zoning of those 3 parcels, which is about 29 acres in size, to the B6 commercial category. So the B6, the name is Interchange Regional Retail District. That rezone application, it would meet the intent and vision of the commercial land use category. But again, in the pecking order, the adoption needs to come first for the comp plan and then the rezone. So if it were to be adopted, if the comp plan map amendment were to be adopted this evening, the B6 zoning district definitely meets the intent and vision of the commercial land use category per the city's 2020 comprehensive land use plan. The current zoning does not allow for development. It's zoned agriculture and residential. It does not allow for an increased tax base, nor does it meet the city's strategic action plan growth goals. The proposed amendment meets the policy and intent of several goals laid out in the city's strategic action plan. I do want to make note that while there is an applicant, and I think everyone is aware who the intended user is, if the private real estate transaction were to fall apart, if the applicant were to walk away from the deal, and if the Common Council were to adopt the comp plan map amendment this evening and the rezone, staff feels that it's still an appropriate comprehensive land use map amendment and rezone. It exemplifies appropriate land use policy given the location, and also it's really not a giant leap from business park to commercial. Business park would allow commercial uses, office, it would allow light industrial, logistics, that type of use. So the commercial application is not a drastic change from the business park that it is identified as today. So on the agenda this evening is a comprehensive land use map amendment and a rezone. I'm going to very briefly just talk about the specific applicant, but that is not, we're not talking about site plan details this evening. We're focusing on the 2 applications to amend the comp plan and the rezone. This is just a conceptual site plan that the applicant has submitted showing a proposed commercial building, approximately 74,000 square feet in area, with parking and with fueling stations on the south side of Elm Road. So the applicant that submitted a lot of traffic is a hot topic with this particular applicant. They did submit a traffic impact analysis report to the DOT to review. Wisconsin Department of Transportation has jurisdiction of the interstate intersection there and of South 27th Street, which is a state highway. They are the regulating authority who is reviewing the traffic impact analysis and is guiding the applicant, if this were to move forward, what appropriate modifications are to be made to the roads. So again, the DOT is analyzing that. They have experts reviewing the report as we speak. The project will not move forward until the DOT approves certain traffic flow standards, and the traffic will not be further discussed this evening. From staff perspective, it will be further discussed at the appropriate meetings that would possibly be forthcoming if this were to be adopted this evening. We have a lot of steps to move forward yet. So additional public hearings and approvals would be needed beyond this evening. The anticipated schedule, if the comp plan map amendment and rezone were to be approved, would be that the applicant would submit another application for a conditional use permit and a certified survey map on March 25th, again, anticipated. The Plan Commission could possibly consider those two applications and provide a recommendation at their April 22nd meeting. A public hearing, another public hearing would be scheduled to consider the conditional use permit. That, again, could be anticipated schedule, possibly May 20th. And then we have one more meeting yet in June where the Plan Commission really would analyze site landscaping, architectural lighting, those type of details. So design standards that are analyzed by the Plan Commission, again, this is what would be analyzed at that June meeting, potentially, if it's anticipated. Things such as building and parking setbacks, stormwater quality, which is regulated by the DNR, and quantity, retention, which is regulated by MMSD and the City of Oak Creek. Lighting restrictions, such as foot candles, no splaying beyond the property lines, landscaping, buffers, interior parking area, tree preservation, and wetlands. The screening of utility boxes and refuse enclosure, and also what does this building look like? Architectural building material minimums are regulated by the City of Oak Creek's zoning code. So those items will be discussed at further meetings, not this evening. So again, I do just want to reiterate that if the private transaction were to fall through, if the Common Council were to adopt the comp plan map amendment and rezone this evening, it is still an appropriate map amendment and rezone given the location, given the current comp plan, and given its location next to the freeway, and commercial change from a business park is not an extreme variation. The Plan Commission did review the two applications. They did recommend approval at their January 28th meeting. So with that, that concludes my portion of the public hearing explanation. If the mayor, if you feel it's appropriate, I could turn it over to the applicant who has a few slides they would like to describe.
Please invite the applicant up. Are they with us?
Yes, Mr. Stan Beard from Buc-ee's is here to represent.
Name and address, sir.
I'm Stan Beard, Director of Development and Real Estate for Buc-ee's, 327 FM 2004, Lake Jackson, Texas. Thanks for having me here tonight. This is a zoning meeting, and I don't want to get too caught up in who we are, but I don't think we can get around that. We're Buc-ee's. We are excited at the possibility of being here. We are not a truck stop. Trucks are not allowed in a Buc-ee's facility at any time other than delivery trucks. What we want to get across here, there we are. So we've been doing this a while. That's store number 1 in Lake Jackson, Texas, built in 1982. That is the first 74,000 square foot store built in Sevierville, Tennessee, opened a couple years ago. We are a big footprint. We are a large. We are a destination. We are What we describe ourselves is we're the unique destination within whatever destination you're headed to. We want to be part of your road trip. 90% or more of our folks who come to a Buc-ee's know they're coming to a Buc-ee's before they ever step in their car. We are not a convenient store to stop at. You stop there on purpose. And for the most part, most of our customers are coming from outside of the city, outside of the county, in this case, many outside of the state. More than 70% of our folks are coming from 100 miles or more away. So we are a de facto tourist destination. And it takes a lot of folks to run it. We will hire 200 people full-time, and that's full-time. I don't count part-time. I don't count seasonal. I'm counting full-time, making 18 to 20 bucks an hour walking in. That's the Buc-ee's starting wage, and benefits, health benefits, 401k, 3 weeks paid time off. If you want to make it your career, I have multiple examples of general managers of stores that were 6-7 years ago cashiers and selling beef jerky. So it is a upwardly mobile company, and we're proud of that. So now we're good? No problem. I don't know. I hit that. That's so you will see those sandwich boards outside of every store and inside of every store, and we're very proud of the opportunities that we provide the local community. Clean bathrooms is why is kind of put us where we are today. We have the cleanest bathrooms that you'll see on a freeway, and usually anywhere else you go that's public facing. We're proud of that. We're proud of the employees that keep it that way. We are not, go ahead and flip. Who's been to one? Y'all, it's if I could flip through, that's just us. I mean, we're Texas brisket sandwiches, what we're known for. We're known for we're the fun store. We have a pretty nutty collection of unique gifts. Plenty of Buc-ee's gear. You can hit the next one. Local goods, local arts. Our merchandising team will come 6-9 months before we open a store and scour the region and figure out what local artisans would be interested in and would be capable of providing their work for sale in a store. We would love to have them there. Like I say, we don't market ourselves at all. All of this comes from folks who have visited Buc-ee's time and time again. They've realized over the last 20 years that if you go to a Buc-ee's Travel Center, you're going to be your expectations are going to be surpassed. There's just we are constantly striving to be the place that you want to come back to, and we so far have succeeded pretty well. Next. This goes to the kind of our circles. We like I say, we're a destination. Most of our customers are coming from many miles away. The good thing of that to some communities is a lot of folks spend a bunch of money in our stores, and then they head on down the road, and they're not taxing your school districts or your public services. That's just us in a nutshell. you know, we're gonna spend 60 to 70 million bucks here, specifically on this site. We will, like I say, employ at least 200 folks full-time. You know, I'm here to answer questions. I think there's a lot of information floating around that may or may not be entirely true, and so I'm here to put our 2 cents in and to try to explain to you from many, many years of operating what we really are about. And I can sit down and wait for other things to happen.
That's it, Christie? Okay. We will begin the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak, we have these comment appearance cards, papers. Please fill one out, give them to the front desk, and we'll call up. As in a public hearing this large, we will limit it to 3 minutes at the podium. So when your 3 minutes are hit, I will ask you to wrap it up and be done. So first person wishing to speak, Douglas Dillman.
There are other people here that are going to speak much better than I can. They're ready to go. I just have a few things. Obviously, what you set up was,
Well, we have it here, but give us your name and address,
my name is
please.
Douglas B. Dillman, 2472 West Heavenview Lane, in the wonderful subdivision of St. John's. We're right next to the business park that you laid out. Since I can't talk about architecture, traffic, or anything like that tonight, I will talk about the rezoning part that you're going to be talking about today. You are talking about 100,000 people, visitors, coming in 1 week because you're going to change it to a commercial versus business. The businesses that will be in there, if you leave it this way, they're not going to be 100,000 people coming traipsing through Elm Street, Oakwood, or anything like that. So my concern per this meeting, because I will be back for the others, because I have plenty of points on those as well, is the amount of people that are going to be going through and nearby our little tiny little subdivision that we pay taxes, we monitor our own. My other question is too, because there's 120 pumps and all that many people coming through, what policing resources are you going to use? I mean, who's going to be called? Franklin, State Patrol, or Oak Creek? Because right now, our subdivision is at the end of a lot of the police support that's there. We're at the end. You're going to have to move a little bit further to police 100-some thousand people every week, because there will be problems. And they know that, we know that. And how are those going to be addressed? So if you keep it the way it is and don't rezone it, that to me is manageable. Not only that, but those independent little shops that you're talking about, whether they be plumbers, electrical, whatever, they will be paying multiple taxes. They will be paying for that support for police, or they might have their own security systems to monitor that off-road there. So that would be my concern. I do have other concerns, but I will waive those for now. But all of that, and the other thing I'm really interested in, I don't know if you can talk about this tonight, is you talk about the goodwill impact that you have. It's in this writing here. I have many, but I'm curious about, you put a statement in that says goodwill impact. I would like to know more about that. Because the goodwill to the subdivision, what does that mean to us? I mean, we've been there 25 years, I think, and we do take care of our own. We really love that area. The other comment I'm going to make, and I'll come back later at your later dates, is I find it surprising that there's a berm on 27th Street to block the view of the strip joint. But there's no berm towards our subdivision for lighting or anything. So I would, in the future, well, I'd like to bring that up as well, but, you know, I think it's interesting that you don't want the public that come in, 100 and some thousand people coming in, you don't want them to see the strip joint. So the berm and the beauty towards us would be great too. So anyways, I'm talking about the zone.
Thank you. Please hold your applause till the end of the public hearing. We don't need to clap, but in between everyone, please. It is if we just keep it fair for everybody, for or against. So, next, Michael Levin.
Good evening, everyone. Nice
Yeah.
to meet everyone.
Name and address for the rest of the council, please.
Certainly.
I have it, but they don't.
All good. Michael Levan, 2387 Heaven View Lane, Oak Creek, of course. Same subdivision. Doug is my neighbor. I'm torn because if this was 20 miles south, that'd be cool. But it's right in my backyard, so my concern. Couple questions. Tax benefits, maybe these are just vicious rumors, I don't know. But I was told that maybe the state will be getting tax benefits, the county, but not Oak Creek. I'm just wondering, is that something we're gonna get more information on, or is that just
Yes, we
incorrect?
can address it after the public. Council members are taking notes.
Oh, very good,
Like everything, there'll be state income tax,
beautiful.
sales tax, excuse me.
And then, you know, kind of using my car, I'm literally 3 blocks away from where I'll be. And I'm curious if there's any other Buc-ee's that is within 3 blocks away. Some people say that this would be the closest. I just want to know if that's true or not. Third thing, Root River is really close. I'm just wondering from an environmental perspective, what any concerns are in that regard? And then, you kind of addressed this one already, but I was curious what the north side of Elm would be. And you already kind of have that zoned future, so you've answered that, but that was my, my fourth question. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, Sadie Schultz.
Hello, I am Sadie Mae Schultz, 340 East Estates Place, Oak Creek. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and the general public. I appreciate the opportunity to voice my concern tonight regarding the potential rezoning and land use change for the proposed Buc-ee site. The proposed site of 27 acres is currently farmland wedged between the freeway and 27th Street. If this plan moves forward, it will turn this area into an impervious wasteland. Between 2 concrete rivers will sprout 120 gas pumps, 74,000 square foot retail space, and Buc-ee's potentially 255-foot conveyor car wash. Oak Creek residents are not only stewards for Lake Michigan, but also our namesake watershed. The Oak Creek watershed is already highly urbanized. The majority of our water flowing into the watershed comes from urban impervious surfaces. Increasing these impervious surfaces will increase pollutants, downstream sedimentation, and degrade our aquatic habitats. And to be clear, downstream of the Oak Creek watershed is our drinking water from Lake Michigan. Columbia University School of Public Health found emissions from Midwest gas station vent pipes are 10 times higher than the estimates used in setback regulations for schools, playgrounds, and parks. They also measured the average daily evaporation rate from these vent pipes, and this is the equivalent to 7 gallons of gasoline, the daily limit. This might not be a concern to the dry, arid climate of Texas, but to the moist Midwest, this is a concern. Within 4.2 miles of the proposed site, there are 3 gas stations that close at 11 p.m. There are 6 24-hour travel centers. Now, if that isn't enough concentrated gas stations and impervious surfaces, Bucky's also offers a credit card from TDECU. That acronym stands for the Texas Dow Employee Credit Union, which was founded by the Dow Chemical Company in 1954. And I think we're all familiar with the Dow Chemical Company. Our freshwaters of the Great Lakes is a global gem. We need to protect our drinking water and our watersheds as the world becomes more polluted. I implore you to deny and not allow this, because only we know the true pricelessness of our water.
Thank you. Just can't stop you guys. Okay, Mr. Robert Foster.
Thank you, Common Council. Thank you, citizens. I'm Robert Foster, 2132 West Heavenview Lane. As some of our previous speakers.
Robert, can you pull the microphone?
Certainly can. Thank you. Robert Foster, 2132 West Heavenview Lane, Oak Creek. I'm in the St. John's subdivision. I have no objection to a business park. Business parks are good citizens. They open at a set time, they close at a set time. They are not 24-hour operations. They're not pumping fumes into our atmosphere, regardless of what kind of reclamation systems they have. If you look out on this line, you'll find a Maricopa County, Arizona air quality study for proposed Buc-ee's where they don't pass. And they were remanded to the local council to make a decision about that. Light pollution, air pollution, quality of life. 22 years ago, my wife and I moved to this neighborhood out of all the possible places we could have moved to in Wisconsin for quality of life. There's nothing about a 24-hour, well-lit, highly visited center that screams quality of life to me or my wife. And further, I'm going to offer you a question. How many of you are willing to move into my neighborhood if this were to go through and this facility be built to enjoy the proposed benefits of a Buc-ee's in your backyard?
Thank you, sir. Next, Art Donner.
Good evening, everyone. I am the owner representative with Chris Hagan back there.
Name, please.
Chris, if you could put
Sir,
your name.
can we have your name? Address?
Oh, I'm sorry, Art Donner. We're at 10940 South 27th Street. We own the 8 acres that are right below the parcel. Okay, so we'd like to say that we've had no contact from the city, and we are right adjacent to that parcel. The only contact we've had from the city is that some gentleman that was there on the road said, hey, do you want to connect to the water? So we've had the farm there. We've known all the owners of the farm and the land in that area for probably 20, 30 years, the people that farmed that before. And we board horses, and we've had them there for a long time. A lot of people come in and have picnics and so forth on the parcel. So to us, as owners of a Storybook Farm, this seems like you're putting a power plant right next door to our horses. You know, the gasoline is heavier than the air, in looking it up on Google, meaning that they tend to settle on the ground and can travel long distances along the ground, accumulating in the low-lying and enclosed areas, posting a fire hazard and explosion error. In fact, the gasoline vapors are 3 to 4 times heavier than the air. Our site, if you've been there, is 15 feet lower than the Buc-ee's site. So the gasoline fumes and so forth, if they are released, are going to come to us. Photometrics for our horses, they're going to be there, lights are going to be there 24 hours a day. Farmers tell us that horses do not retain their covers when they have light all the time. They will not get their winter coat. They could be dead. Chickens will be laying eggs all the time because it's light out. They'll only last about a year. You know, are there EPA approvals for us? Anyone look at the boardings for horses and stuff like that? No. The runoff on this parcel on 100 acre, or as many acres as there is here, 29 or 30 acres, when there's a major storm event, this is going to wash us out, kill our horses, probably kill us, the people that live there. So, you know, a lot of things is brought up, the crime impact on the volume of traffic. On that plan that he just showed, there is no route for our horses that go up all the time along that road. There's not one path for the horses or anything. So we're just not in the picture, I guess. So the cars are going to be running over the horses if you approve the zoning. I can guarantee you that, unless you're not going to allow us to take the horses out anymore. So there is a precedent on something like this, and that is the mitigation is, you know, to take us out, move us someplace else. It's happened in the We Energy site. It's happened in the Buc-ee's, or not the Buc-ee's, but the Cheese House, stuff like that. This is not going to work with us as a Storybook Farm. We're here. Our horses don't vote, but we are here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Kristen McMahon.
My name is Kristen McMahon. I live at 2597 West St. John's Way. Dear members of the Common Council, we thank you for your time and listening to the information we will be sharing with you this evening. I'm coming to you this evening as a citizen of Oak Creek, a resident of the St. John's neighborhood, and a member of Oak Creek Neighbors United UA. We are here this evening as a follow-up to the January 28th, 2025 Planned Commission meeting. We have grave concerns that you are being asked to provide an approval decision that will not be an informed decision based on what has been shared with you as a Common Council. Before you this evening, you are being asked to give an approval on the rezoning and land use for the proposed Buc-ee's location. I want to remind you of the definition of an approval. That is, by definition, it is the belief that someone or something is good or acceptable. And why are you being asked to give this approval decision? Because as of today, March 18th, 2025, the proposed site location for Buc-ee's is not permitted use for this type of business. Oak Creek needs the exception to the code to make this legal and to proceed. So how does one make an approval decision? Well, to make an informed decision, the person needs to have facts and data and conduct a comprehensive review to be able to come to the correct conclusion. This evening, we plan to share with you relevant facts, data, and concerns focused on land rezoning use, traffic impacts, environmental impacts, and crime, that a fair representation of the information has not been conducted or made available. During the January 28th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting, the Mayor and Plan Commission made promises of actions that would occur to ensure fair and accurate analysis would be completed to determine if this should proceed. This included a fair representation of the traffic impacts to be completed by the DOT, not reviewed and signed off by the DOT, but conducted by the DOT, as well as an environmental analysis that would be conducted by the DNR, which has not happened. The process and how this is actually conducted, or perhaps not even initiated, does not align to how the Mayor and Plan Commission explain the next steps to us. Despite this not occurring the way that it was described to us, we are going to continue to have good faith and trust the process in you as our elected Common Council to do what is right. We plan to present continued concerns and hope that in your appointed positions, you will not make a forward vote without informed data, that you are going to withhold the oath and vows you have made to represent the citizens of Oak Creek, regardless of what district you live in.
Thank you. Next up, Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Shreve. I live at 2311 West Oakwood Road. I know you guys aren't allowed to talk about traffic, but I'm going to talk about traffic because it impacts our quality of life. And it also talks about what the applicants have presented to everybody that you guys have already reviewed when it came to some of the traffic impacts. So I'm just going to start out with our concern is not without precedent. There is another Buc-ee's that was presented at Corinth, Texas. They ended up doing their own independent review of the Buc-ee's traffic impact, and they actually found that Buc-ee's was off by 2,500 cars a day. That was based on not trusting their numbers. That is not an anomaly. Baldwin County, Alabama, they found themselves in a three-way political standoff between Buc-ee's, county, and city because Buc-ee's misrepresented the traffic. Here are some quotes from some residents that made national news. I feel bad for the people that live here. There's other places that have Buc-ee's that have also expressed their frustration with the traffic. Daytona Beach, the traffic jam was unbelievable, literally took me an hour to get out of the parking lot. In Missouri, waited 45 minutes in a traffic jam. How could this place not have a better traffic flow system in place? These are all places that trusted Buc-ee's review of traffic. So if Oak Creek isn't going to do their own due diligence to make sure that those numbers are accurate. The other thing is, in Lowling, Texas, they said getting in and out is a nightmare. It also takes them an hour to get in and out at peak hours. Robbinsdale, Alabama, if you want to step people into hell, drive within 20 miles of people-infested excuse of a pit stop. Traffic merge from Destin and other places is a complete nightmare. I've already listed off 6. There's more. They have 50 stores. I didn't have time to go through all of them. The other thing is all the numbers that they've projected for Oak Creek continuously change. And then they take a rural prototype and they plop it into a suburban plot of land. So the projections that we have are similar to DeForest, Wisconsin. Now, we know the metro Milwaukee area and the Chicago area is nothing like DeForest. We also know that we're nothing like Springfield, Missouri. In fact, Springfield, Missouri has the same number projections that we do, but yet we have triple the amount of population. So Springfield, Missouri has 475,000 people. Milwaukee County alone has close to 900 million people. That doesn't include Racine County, that doesn't include Kenosha, and Chicago, their metro area, 9 million. The closest place to Springfield is 2 hours. We're 60 miles from Chicago. So I don't know, the numbers that you guys have reviewed, like, oh, it's not gonna be a problem, they're based off of fraudulent numbers. How is Oak Creek not able to do their own independent study? How could you possibly pass?
Mary, you're coming up on 3 minutes, please.
Okay, but I'm actually speaking for 5 people. We can go in and out.
No,
Okay,
you have to
that's
fill out a
fine.
slip.
Yep,
Please.
they'll fill out a
Please
slip.
adhere by the rules. And yes, they can. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want to finish this? Does anybody want to finish this?
Next, Britt.
Tell me where to start. Green sting line.
Britt.
I'll read it.
Please, folks, keep order. Britt DeVizik? Saying that correctly or even close?
Hi. Britt, sure. Yep. You good? Hi, everyone. Britt DeVusick, 2580 West St. John's Way, and member of the Oak Creek Neighbors United nonprofit group. Thank you for having us all here, Common Council, and all of the attendees for coming. I do want to speak to financials, but for time's sake, I'm going to get a little further away from this. I'm going to speak to crime. In regards to crime, at the January 28th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting that many of us attended, Oak Creek leaders stated that they contacted the Oak Creek Police and were informed that very little crime is expected based on Buc-ee's reports. However, the national news and local police reports show a very different story. There are many crimes reported, from minor crimes to very serious crimes. Here they are: assaults, battery, shootings, murder, escaped convicts, credit card skimmers, that's a big one, identity theft rings, personal injury lawsuits, car fires, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, racial discrimination, structural fires, deadly crashes, fender bender accidents, traffic backups, we heard about that, countless drug trafficking arrests, robbery by gunpoint, theft, and mass shooting plots, just to name a few from national and local news from all around the various Buc-ee's areas. Speaking of crime, I don't know if our city council is aware that the family business that is associated with Buc-ee's has a family member that has been arrested twice in the last 6 months, once for recording guests in a bathroom, even more serious within the last 2 weeks for child pornography. I can't even go into that anymore, but Oak Creek should not be in favor of supporting businesses with members that have child pornography charges, period. This falls on you as our city council to do better, to do your due diligence, to research this company more, maybe read all of our documents, all the objections, and dig deeper than we have even done, because this should not go through the way it is right now. I have a minute left, so I'm going to hop over to financials. Whew, this is a big one, so might hand this one over. So we're sort of left to wonder, like, the direct financial impact that Oak Creek will receive from this business, because we've been told no, it's the direct tax impact will go to state and county. The mayor stated that Oak Creek will be doing this for the greater good of Wisconsin, as the sales tax will go to those entities. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what are we just pawns on this playboard? Are we being played as residents of Oak Creek, especially those of us that live really, really close? And what's the benefit? So our home value goes down, you lose that much in tax base from us. We pay over $1 million per year in residential property tax revenue, just our subdivision alone. So now that goes, so like, where do we balance it out? So there's just a lot more to say about financials. I don't have time. Another big thing with my 6 seconds, Buc-ee's development was denied by a common council in Eflin, North Carolina, because it was shown that Buc-ee's uses around 860 million gallons of water per month just for the store and toilets. That does not include the giant car wash.
Thank you. Levi?
Hello, my name is Levi Oxford, 2631 West St. John's Way. I'm also a member of the Oak Creek Neighbors United nonprofit group. I just wanted to touch on a point that the first speaker made to start with, when the Buc-ee's representative, and I know he didn't cover everything he wants to cover, he talked a lot about Buc-ee's and what a great store it is and yada, yada, yada. What he didn't really cover as far as their relationship with any other community subdivision from a neighbor standpoint. My belief is that that's because they don't have any baseline or precedent for that. They haven't had to be stewards of an area like that because they don't build these things next to subdivisions. And I'll just leave that there. I'd love to hear examples if they have. I wanted to talk about the jobs. Again, yeah, I know this is a rezoning, but again, we had the Buc-ee's guy speak before anybody else got to speak, so it kind of put it front and center. But if we're rezoning this as for what it is, this giant retail gas station, we should talk about the kind of jobs, the different kind of jobs those are from where it is now, which is a business park. Business parks open up things to things like the skilled trades, upper level management positions, things like that. Whereas another retail space like this, however big it is, isn't catering to those types of jobs. That being said, from a workplace environment, if you do the due diligence on what Buc-ee's is as a employer, they don't rank really high. If you were using the comparables of Target, Quick Trip, IKEA, Kohl's, and Amazon, other employers in our area, they rank a full point lower on places like Indeed, which is a major place for these types of jobs that people are going to go and speak their opinion about that kind of thing. I think that should be looked at. All for jobs development, what types of jobs, what type of development are we really talking about here? And the last one that I'm going to go through is just the idea of a gas station. I know this isn't just a gas station, but it's 120 pumps. That's what it is. and the blight it can have on the area. This has been touched on a little bit. The main point I want to make with my last minute here is, as far as I can tell, about 3 years ago, there was another gas station planned a couple of blocks away from this one, and some members that are on this and some others thought it was ridiculous, right? We have quotes here. Lots of residents there, not the right area for this. Have seen concerns in other towns with fueling deserts. A city commissioner said concerns filling a car and spilling gas of drinking wells in the area is bad news. Contamination is hard to control. Do not see how it could be controlled even with regulations. Another planning commissioner, gas stations here make 0 sense. Multiple gas stations to the north and the south. And then District 2 Alderman had said he voted no, saying there's more than enough gas stations in this area. These are the opinions of a similar board that we're standing in front of now. All those gas stations still exist, so all of those same things should apply regardless of the name tag on the gas station. And so with that, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Michelle Kubek.
Good evening, Michelle Kubasek, 10431 South Faith Avenue, Oak Creek. So I was going to touch on environmental stuff and actually what Levi just touched on how in 2022 there was a proposal for a gas station half a mile away and that was shut down. Why would that be shut down? But this is on the agenda to go through. This is a mega center. A lot of environmental things are going to go on with this. What happens in 30 years? I get Buc-ee's is a big thing. It has a name in Texas. I'm not denying that. But it's a gimmick, right? What happens in 30 years when Buc-ee's goes out of business? And now we are stuck with all of those underground storage tanks. What happens when we go to electric vehicles? And again, we're stuck with all of these underground storage tanks. The land has to be, for lack of a better term, sterilized before that can be used for something else. So I'd like the council to take that into consideration before doing a vote this evening. And like my colleagues have said, do your due diligence and research a little more. I think this has been, from the get-go, just pushed. From a citizen standpoint, all of a sudden one day we're living our life and next day we're getting Buc-ee's coming in town and our mayor dismisses us and says, well, why would you think that? That's not what I said. It is clearly what was said and it is clearly what everybody has said. So I'd like everybody to take a deep breath, take a step back, don't push it through today. We aren't opposed to that land being developed. That's the nature, and we know you want your 30% green space, fine. Just not 365, 24/7 Buc-ee's. My last point on the environmental thing is there are rusty patch bumblebees there. They're a protected species in Wisconsin, and that is where they live. On this plot of land, there is the nationally endangered species. It is protected in Wisconsin in Unit 8. Unit 8 is where the Buc-ee's development is being proposed. We have plenty of environmental advocates on our side, so we will email those to you guys after this, but we just want you guys to know that part of our story. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Joe Sincata.
Thank you, Mayor. Attorney Joe Sincata. I'm here representing the association.
Press, please.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. Oak Creek Neighbors United. My office address is 1200 East Capitol Drive in Shorewood. In summary, the city is proceeding with this development based on the facts in a manner that is contrary to the public interest. The traffic impact is going to be very significant, as anyone who lives in the area can tell. No major approvals, in particular rezoning or comp plan amendments, should be considered until traffic studies and other impacts are fully reviewed by independent agencies. Unfortunately, Pierce City staff is determined to take a position that effectively advocates for the applicant. It's not really the role of the city. In fact, the reason these types of controversies arise, in my experience, is because the city can sometimes not act from the perspective of citizens and taxpayers, which is really what the ordinances call for. These applicants' requests for a rezone and a comp plan amendment are not just minor matters to be addressed on a speedy timeline has been happening. These are major changes in city policy, and in truth, the main event. Staff suggests there are other approvals to come, the conditional use permit, for instance. But what you're going to hear at that time is Act 67, some of you may be familiar with that, requires that we approve the conditional use permit if we agree to the conditions. This is where it's at, the rezoning and the comp plan. And what's not properly being considered is that people make decisions, people in St. John's, in reliance on comp plans and zoning codes. They rely on that in buying and building homes. They should be able to rely on the comp plan and the zoning code remaining stable. The facts strongly suggest the benefit of approving these requests is solely for the applicant. There's no basis to conclude the tax base will increase more than developing more residential or other uses. The suggestion that there has been no interest in other types of uses is totally unsupported, and certainly does not mean that a failure to approve these requests will result in devaluation of the properties. There's just no factual basis for that decision. So what does the law require? The city has a specific ordinance, 178-0804, parent G. Must be followed consistently and neutrally. I don't think that's a controversial statement. It requires findings that the rezoning is necessary to meet the challenge of a changed or changing conditions. This is one of several requirements. Must be necessary to meet the challenge of a changed or changing conditions. In order to make those findings, there need to be actual facts. Substantial evidence is the term often used. It's not sufficient to speculate or believe that things will be okay. This isn't particularly true in this case, given that this is only basically a change for a single project and essentially a single parcel. Importantly, and as I wrap up here, it's the applicant's burden to support that they meet the requirements. They have to do so with sufficient facts such that the council and the plan commission could approve the rezone, and they cannot do so here. Significantly, oftentimes decision makers are told they must approve. Perhaps in a closed session.
You're nearing your 3 minutes.
I appreciate that. If I can have a little leeway. This is not correct. This is definitely something you must not approve. In fact, it's the other way. The applicant here has to provide support to approve. What if they threaten to sue, or there's some indirect suggestion they may do that? This is their property after all. That's not correct. They're seeking a major exception to the land use code. The perspective the council really should have is on the current property and owners and voters. They have the entitlement, they have the vested rights. Please understand that and consider that. You have discretion, but you certainly do not have to approve. And frankly, given the sentiment and the facts that are in the record, it's really not approvable now, or in my view, in the future. So with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rick Stranglin? Rick? Oh, you did not. Oh, yeah, thank you. I just assumed everybody was speaking. He does not wish to speak, but he'd like to have the comments made part of the public record, so I will read it in the record. This Buc-ee's will have nothing but a negative impact in an already congested area with gas stations. It will negatively impact crime in the area and provide congestion that will not be able to be accommodated. Thank you, sir. Not that bad. I've seen worse. Corinne does not wish to speak either, so I will once again read this into the record. It's, how do you pronounce your last name correctly? Stingline, thank you. Oh, do you want to come up and speak?
Well, you can read that one.
All right, I'll read this in the record and I'll give you the 3 minutes. How's that for a deal? How do you plan to deal with the traffic and crime that always comes with a large development? I live in the subdivision north of the proposed business, Buc-ee's. I am concerned. Could you give your name and address, please?
Corinne Stingline, 2166 West Heaven View Lane, Oak Creek, Wisconsin. First, I thank you very much for allowing me to speak, Mayor and Common Council. I also want to say I'm sorry for my decorum. I don't know this. I know. Am emotional about this.
Just trying to keep it on track. And good.
Okay, I'm going to complete this statement from Sarah Shreve. As of late, we have often heard that people outside of our district and outside of the city would like Buc-ee's here. However, everyone acknowledged that their opinion would change if it were in their backyard or if they lived near it. They would not want a tourist attraction that is 1.5 times bigger than an NFL football field, brings more visitors than a sold-out concert, along with light pollution that can be seen for over a mile in their backyard with a 100-foot sign of a lit-up cartoon character as they look out their house windows. I agree. If we ran a city where we cared about something, if it personally impacted us, then our community as a whole would be, if we did not. If we ran our city where we only cared about something, if it personally impacted us, then our community as a whole is doomed. We have just set a precedent that we have no moral boundaries to protect others that live here. One development at a time, each district will face a proposal that will not impact the other 5 districts. The majority vote will always go in favor of those that won't be significantly impacted. The danger of inaction, the failure to stand up, even when it's an unpopular or inconvenience, breeds a community where no one is safe from harm. We know that land will be developed and would welcome a business park as the Oak Creek Comprehensive Land Use Plan has outlined. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Next, Kevin Lampy.
Kevin Lampy, 8436 South Howell Avenue, Oak Creek. I won't need 3 minutes, so I'll be short. I have a couple questions. I'm not sure when the sequence will happen. The first question is, when will the development agreement happen? I don't need specifics. Is there a time frame for that?
I'm not gonna, at the end of this, we're not gonna nail all these because we're in a comp plan zone.
Okay.
The only thing on the agenda, but our city administrator might give a synopsis of some of the low-hanging ones that might be answerable, or our director of community development, because it comes in the process, if they so pass go tonight.
Because obviously that affects who's paying for any and all roads and development. And it should not be the taxpayers of Oak Creek that should be paying that. It should be the business that locates in that prime location. That's the split of 2 highways, much like Cabela is located there in a prime location up in whatever city that is up. Cabela's up. Half the audience here knows what I'm talking. They picked that location. Buc-ee's did their homework. They found Oak Creek. They found that prime location. Hopefully, the city is not giving away money by helping them pay for any and all roads. Hopefully, Buc-ee's is paying for all the development costs of that. It shouldn't be the taxpayers of Oak Creek. It should be Buc-ee's. They're going to make a lot of money if they move there, if this happens. Whichever development moves, whichever business moves into this development, in whichever way it changes or doesn't change, it's a prime location. My point is they should be paying for all the development. And that's all I have. Buc-ee's is a corporation. Oak Creek is a corporation. We should negotiate like we want to also make a profit. If they're going to make a profit, we should make profit with them. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Ryan McMahon.
My name is Ryan McMahon, 2597 West St. John's Way. I'll be as brief as I can. On the comp plan, page 24, it states that the land use recommendation can remain open to consideration of additional plan uses. It also outlines that if changed to commercial, that this should reflect the scale and character of the surrounding neighborhoods and provide day-to-day shopping needs of nearby households. As Angela Janik, project coordinator for Buc-ee's, outlined on our January 28th meeting, 90% of Buc-ee's customers will be from 20 to 100 miles outside of our city. 12,000 cars daily competing for 600 parking spaces does not reflect the scale and character of our surrounding neighborhoods. nor does it intend to provide day-to-day shopping needs of nearby households. This brings a spectacle that does not belong in or around our neighborhood. Our neighborhood did not sign up to be part of this tourist attraction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. And Katie Studebaker?
Hi, good evening. Katie Studebaker, 5025 West Oakwood Road, Franklin. There is no such thing as a gas station that does not have negative impacts. There is an NIH-funded research paper that shows the adverse health outcomes of residential proximity properties less than 1 mile to environmental hazards. This American Journal of Public Health study reviewed residents less than 1 mile from the places like gas stations. This study proves that there are significant relationships between residential proximity to environmental hazards and adverse health outcomes, including but not limited to pregnancy, central nervous system defects, childhood cancers, including leukemia, brain cancer, non-Hodgkin's, lymphoma, asthma hospitalizations, and renal disease. At this point in time, we cannot trust the environmental impacts are being accurately investigated for you to make an informed vote. As mentioned before, during the January 28th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting, the engineer and city commissioner, Christina Hanna, raised the question if these safety impacts were already completed or planned to be completed. There is a lot of concern from area environmental groups that have reached out with concern about this development. They have given us several resources to raise awareness about the environmental impacts of this development, and we would be happy to share with you as you make an informed decision. Our resources include, but are not limited to, Milwaukee River Keepers, Sierra Club of Wisconsin, Midwestern Environmental Advocates, who are a nonprofit law firm, and Community and Environmental Defense Services. We are not coming to you tonight as uneducated, overly worried citizens. We have informed, research-based facts that support the negative impact this will have to our environment and to the health of those that must live next to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. As this is a public hearing and that was the first call, there are 3 calls. I will, very long first call. I'll make a second call. Anybody wishing to speak, please fill out a form, approach podium, name and address. Third and final call, anybody wishing to still speak on the topic of item 4, please approach podium, please fill out a slip, give your name and address. Okay, seeing nobody wishing else to speak, we will close the public hearing. And I will hand it to my city administrator just for a brief synopsis. Excuse me, Brett? I closed it. You had to answer within the call. There was quite a bit of time. I'm going to need these because some want to speak. So,
yeah,
at
thank
this
you,
time,
Mayor.
I'll hand it over to the city administrator.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge, this, I've been through a lot of these contentious meetings, and it's just set up in an adversarial way, just us and them, and there's no way around that. So I just know that there's elected officials up here who obviously hear your concerns, very well spoken, all of you. But as was said earlier, there's 39,000 other people in the community that didn't get a letter to come say, hey, what do you think about this project at the public meeting? And they have to take all of that into consideration with the direct feedback. And it's an uncomfortable spot for these folks representing the entire city. But I just wanted to talk a little bit and give some light to the staff's role in this, and maybe what was examined and looked at before the public-facing phases of the actual plan submittals and you getting letters and things like that. Early on, about September, I think, in earnest, we had this opportunity before us. Buc-ee's had approached the city. They had or were very close to a purchase and sale agreement on the property. And we really wanted to learn about the company and about the user. And we really take a look at these projects, any projects, whether this is a small project or something as scary and big for the residents, as it were, as a Buc-ee's. We really take a look outside in, and we keep paring down the review to a more precise site plan. How's the water going to run off? All of the environmental concerns, which you heard is later on in the process. The first thing I personally wanted to know, and I know Mayor Dan did, was what's this company all about? Do they share our values? Are they good partners? And we flipped that on its head and said, I want to know what they aren't. And we determined what they weren't. They were not a truck stop. They were not, as we've learned through conversations with our municipal colleagues, not coming from Buc-ee's, the company, but from our colleagues in places that have opened recently. What is your crime experience? What are your calls for service? We were on a phone call with law enforcement agencies, our law enforcement command staff and that communities, and determine, we can share specifics, a reasonable service burden would go along with this. We were very concerned about this being a truck stop and the criminal element that comes with that. As you all know, we deal with that elsewhere in the community already, so we were not trying to subscribe to more of that. But then we looked at really the brand, the potential community impacts. Of course, economics come into play, and I can answer some specific questions that were out there on benefits from this. And just overall general benefits to our community. Taking that a little further, now that gate was passed, probably a good partner, shares our values, want to bring themselves into the community in a way that the community can support, all important to continue moving in the conversation. Then we looked and said, well, what kind of piece of ground do you have? Where are you thinking? And obviously this is a little bit in parallel, but for the sake of the example here, we took a look at what site they had chosen and wanted to bring a development to. And this is what we saw as an objective, rather emotionless city staff. We saw this graphic. We saw immediate adjacency to a new interchange on I-94. We looked at the characteristics of the surrounding development. As you can see, all of the things in Franklin, and I won't bore you because I'm not convincing you that this is right for your neighborhood. But you can see that this is not, it's on the Franklin side, so we'll say this is not how we would like to develop on our side of the street. Obviously a gentleman's club, still called that, a very big 300,000 square foot cheese processing plant that was just cited, some other heavy industrial uses, or just, rather intense uses for the property. Most specifically, we looked at the fact that the site that was under contract was 1,428 feet away from the nearest home. In a planning sense, from a municipal planning sense, that is not adjacent, that is not nearby, that is almost 4 football fields away from the proposed site.
You cannot speak from the audience, ma'am. You cannot speak from the audience. Please refrain.
Talking about the neighborhood to the north, which is
Again, please refrain from speaking from the audience. Andrew, you have the floor.
Showing you the graphic here where the 1428 is measured to the subdivision. 55 acres of commercial or future business park in between the development site. Again, the interchange, brand new interchange constructed. And again, not that this is going to be ideal if it moves forward for the neighborhood, but when you look at these site characteristics from a planning sense, this is not a square peg in a round hole, okay? From a planning sense, from an objective community planning sense, it is not. If you want to move on, and so we're digging deeper, right? We're looking at the site, if it's going to come, this is probably the only place in the community that would support that given those characteristics I mentioned. This is a view from the proposed location, and we noticed that there was a very established berm and screening on the south side of the residential subdivision. That's good. That has established, because it was probably very much a sales point for those homes to say, we don't quite know what's coming to the south of you, but we did try to buffer the proposed future uses here. In 2020, when we adopted our comprehensive plan, from a policy perspective, this was moved from additional residential development in this area to future business park. So we're not going from future residential anymore to what this is. It was future business park, not residential. Some of the specific questions, and we had these concerns too, show us, we kind of know the company's MO, where they typically site. I guess I can do this, right, Christy? That's what you were motioning to me? And a question was raised earlier. Where are these located in more urban settings, such as the city of Oak Creek and Milwaukee metro area? You can see a couple examples that the company had provided to us in response to those concerns. These are not 1,400 feet away from the nearest subdivision. These are almost, in some cases, directly adjacent to subdivisions, as well as you see in Royce City, Texas. So we brought this opportunity after a lot of that general vetting, not where is the water going to run off and the environmental concerns, but we bring this opportunity forward to the elected officials because tonight they are talking about a policy change on a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezone. So to the Common Council, that is what's before us tonight. If there is faith in the continued, more precise site planning process that goes forward, if this policy issue is forward tonight, if there's faith in that process, there are a lot of those concerns, as you know, being on Plan Commission, being on the council, through site review, the environmental, the light. How can we bring in this user in the end? In the vicinity of a neighborhood, how can we do right to the maximum degree we can to mitigate those issues that we heard about tonight and we'll hear as the process moves forward in the subsequent months, if it does move forward. So I just wanted to add the staff's role in this, what we did in the fall period. I know there was some commentary that this seems really quick and rushed. I mean, in the end, this is going to be the better part of an entire year if we play this process out all the way through to its conclusion. It's the better part of a year and a lot of public meetings. The last thing I wanted to note with regards to the 1,500 feet, or excuse me, 1,400, the distance. When we do these zoning actions, and we do them rather routinely, comp plan amendments and rezones, the city is required to notify properties within 300 feet. The alderman for the district, Alderman Gale, Council President Gale, chose to, I think, broaden that more than we've ever broadened. I can't say that for sure. We couldn't verify that. We went all the way to 27th, or excuse me, all the way to 13th Street, and Christy can speak to this a little better. We invited this dialogue here tonight. You would not have been notified at all. You are almost 5 times. You're
Once again, ma'am, not from the audience.
You're almost 5.
Once again, please, not from the audience. If not, we will ask an officer to escort you out.
So I just wanted everybody to know that, when we talk about if outcomes are not ideal for the neighborhood, we usually attack the process. And I want you to know we've done our best to expand the notification list to get as many people in this room to hear those concerns really as we in this situation. So,
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. I will now turn it over for council on deliberation.
Can I just ask a question quick?
Yes, go ahead.
I know
Greg.
the rep from Bucky's mentioned that he was here to answer questions, and I don't know if is he allowed to come back up, the rep from Bucky's?
We
And
can, remember, agenda-wise, we're on the comp
Okay.
and zoning. So, I mean, we don't want to, as Andrew just explained, if it passes that, it'll move on to the other questions as well.
Understood.
So, who wants to open?
Alderman Ritz. I just want to thank everyone for the time and effort, and it was clear that you put a lot of effort into your research. And, not everybody likes public speaking. I'm one of them. But you did a great job coming up and voicing your concerns. So, my hat's off to I agree that there definitely are a number of questions to be answered yet. I'm not convinced that these questions are related to, most of them are related to a rezoning. But there are a number of questions for maybe conditional use as we move down the road. We'll have more dialogue with Buc-ee's then. I just wanted to thank everybody for their comments.
Greg?
I'll say some things. I realize we're here just for the comp plan amendment. When did the Elm Road exit open? Somebody know a date or month, year? Okay, thank you. So as far as the comp plan amendment, I know that, and if I'm reading off notes here, I took a lot of notes. I'm not purposely trying to misrepresent anything, so if I misspeak, I apologize. I thought I heard a comment about when looking at comprehensive plan amendments or rezoning, that it has to be looked at, and there has to be a changed condition in the area in order to consider this. It was zoned business park, not zoned. It was identified in the comprehensive plan as business park. And then the Elm Road exit opened. I think that's a significant change to that area. And I think that this is appropriately looked at as far as updating the comprehensive plan because of that change. As far as comments about the applicant and concerns and things of that nature, I would just like to address a couple of the comments because there were a lot of comments made about doing our research, doing due diligence. A lot of what I looked into and asked questions about came directly from the Plan Commission meeting. Residents brought up concerns. I took that, I ran with it, I tried to do as much research as I can. I reached out to Sevierville, Tennessee, Katy, Texas, Athens, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Johnstown, Colorado. I spoke to 2 mayors, 2 alder people in those communities, and just basically laid out all the concerns, what we're hearing directly from Buc-ee's. I'm a skeptic. I need to hear things for myself. So I did do more research than I think I've ever done as a member of the council. Now I'm somewhat new comparatively. And I'm not trying to go off topic. I'm a member of the library board here. I had a person send me a report on the impact of bed bugs and return materials. I read the entire report. When I come to find out, I just had to read the last line, which actually proved an opposing point to what the woman was concerned about. But the point is, if you have reports, concerns, I have no issue if you email them to me. I assure you I will read them. But I'm gathering a lot of information. As I said, I spoke to numerous communities. I asked the specific questions to each mayor, each council person. Number one, was there any misrepresentation in what Buc-ee's presented or what you thought was going to happen that didn't happen after they opened? I asked about crime in their city, and I asked about traffic in their community. By the third person I spoke to, I have nothing against Buc-ee's, but by the third person I said, please give me something negative about this company and about the impact to your community. I had one mayor say, if they end up not coming to Oak Creek, let them know we will take a second one in our community.
Please. Greg
I
has the
tried to
floor.
reach out to similar population communities. I reached out to a former farming community that's growing and expanding. But I'm just taking so many notes and looking through so much stuff that I'm really trying to make an educated decision on this. So I assure you that's happening, at least from my point of view. So if you have anything you want me to read, send it. But again, looking at this from a comprehensive plan amendment, I think the change with that Elm Road exit is a significant change in order to revisit this.
Thank you, Greg. Steve?
I understand that I took copious notes from the speakers tonight, best as I could to keep up with everybody. And, you know, again, this is a lot of the comments that I want to make really don't pertain to items 4, 5, 6, or 7 on the agenda, because that's not what. I'm kind of hamstrung with the fact that there are, you know, I got all this material here that I read over the past week and today, and even on my way to the meeting here. And you know, some of it is relevant, and quite frankly, a lot of the comments tonight, but please, you know, I listen to you, listen to me. It's not relevant with regards to what we're talking about tonight, because those comments are for subsequent meetings, like site plans, crime. You know, one of my comments is, can you name me, and this is a rhetorical question, can you name me a development anywhere in the city of any kind that didn't have some sort of crime come into that development? I mean, we build a subdivision, we have criminal elements in the subdivision, breaking into cars, whatever the case. You know, we have Meijer, they have shoplifters. We have Kohl's, we have Target, they have shoplifters. They have accidents on the property. We have, you know, people, you know, are idiots, and they'll park their car at Quick Trip and leave it running in the middle of the winter because they don't want to have it get cold, and they come out, their car's gone. Well, whose fault is that? It's not Quick Trip's fault. It's the person who left their car there running. And there was an anonymous post in a Facebook group. Person didn't even have really, I would say, the courage to post their name, but I printed it before it got deleted by the admin person, and talked about all these crimes that coincidentally were mentioned by one of the speakers tonight. So I looked at the crimes, and I looked at the cities that were listed in this post, and there were 50. Now, Buc-ee's has been around for 43 years. I have no dates with regards to these crimes that were committed, but Texas is 35 locations. 13 of them happened in Texas, 3 in Alabama, 2 in Florida, 3 in Georgia, 3 in Tennessee, 2 in Kentucky, none in Missouri, none in South Carolina, 1 in Colorado. You know, some of them are major. And I look at this, and these can happen anywhere. I mean, like I said, they could happen at Walmart in Franklin. But you pointed out that they happened in Buc-ee's. Well, and I'm sorry to bring this up, but I find this totally irrelevant that the son of a Buc-ee's founder, was recently arrested twice, and it was already mentioned what it was for. Again, it's irrelevant to the fact that Buc-ee's wants to build something in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. The fact that somebody mentioned that, I could say that as a retired federal agent, you know, I've arrested for child pornography, a UPS driver, a police officer, a Catholic priest, a Lutheran high school teacher, a TSA screener, a truck driver, a photographer for a young adult water ski club at Mitchell Airport, and a funeral home director.
Steve, let's go back to the comp
Okay,
plan.
so what I'm saying is that that isn't relevant. It's nice that you make the all right. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know what the minimum assessed value of this is going to be, but I have to look at the totality of the circumstances with regards to a development, because it's not in my district. I look at everything that it's going to bring to the city, the good points, the bad points, whatever it may be. And by the way, Mayor, thank you for going off target. I don't have another opportunity to make some of these comments, okay? So the next meetings, there'll be somebody else in this chair.
Please, do not speak. Ma'am, please, do
you
not
know,
speak
ma'am-
from the audience. He has the floor.
You know,
We
ma'am,
will keep him on point to the comp plan going
it's not
forward.
in my neighborhood, but it's in my city. Understand that?
Again,
14
ma'am, please, not from the
So-
audience. Steve,
All right,
wrap her up.
yeah, it's become argumentative, so I'll just stop right there because I've listened to their opinions. They won't listen to mine. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, Lisa,
No questions.
Ken.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo Alderman Ritz's comment there. I appreciate you in the audience there really coming out and advocating for yourselves. That's how local politics works, where you step up, you do your research, you get your thoughts organized and make a cogent argument for you and your neighbors. That's how this process should work, and I appreciate your efforts here tonight. So that said, when I first learned of this Buc-ee's, I'll try and be succinct, last summer, I think, early last fall. I don't remember exactly when it came through, Andrew, but the land use was my primary concern then, and it remains the case today even. We spent a lot of time when we adopted this last comp plan back in 2020 going over future plans for the city land uses that we thought were appropriate for the remaining land we had left, and that's an important factor in this whole process, the fact that as a city that unfortunately is growing to be more built out, we've had great success, but these parcels of this size and this location and this nature are few and far between in our community. We have to be very strategic in how they're used, in my opinion. We see at Oakview Business Park, which has been highly successful, there's just a couple small parcels left. Amazon effectively filled the business park we envisioned that we thought we'd have for 10 or 15 years in one fell swoop a couple of years ago. So from my standpoint, we need to be very strategic in how these lands, which we deem to be our future business parks, are going to be used. So what's envisioned here coming forward from Buc-ee's is not what was envisioned by that plan, given we changed the land use on that piece of property. It's not what I envisioned either. So it's really important, I think, from our standpoint, the city has to remain strategic in how we look at these things. Taxable value on this is typically, from what I have seen, is not near what we target for business development. Is an issue for me, but the primary issue is going to be moving forward in the fact that what you choose for this particular parcel is likely going to drive the activity that's going to be on the land immediately adjoining your neighborhood. The 55 acres is still zoned, and our land use is for business park, and is be highly important. Typically, what goes here first is going to drive a lot of the activity that's going to be sited on that parcel. So those things are important, and the decisions right now are important. And I think, as Attorney Sincata said, this decision and these decisions tonight are really where the rubber meets the road, and we have to be very, very thoughtful on how we go forward with that. And from that standpoint, I just, at this point, I cannot be supportive of the comp plan change or the zoning changes at this time.
All right. Chris?
A lot of my comments have been mentioned already, but I would point out that one thing that got me over to supporting this more than not was the fact that they had put the new off-ramp in on Elm Road. So because of that, that's why I think it's a good location. I don't.
Ma'am, once again, please do not refrain from speaking from the audience. Okay.
All the police.
To wrap up on item 4, first of all, to reiterate what the council said, this was a very respectful conversation back and forth, regardless of if I put the hammer down a couple of times. For the most part, you guys really did your part in the whole thing, and you did express your concerns and your questions, and they come at the appropriate times. And it may seem like we're not answering the questions, just isn't the appropriate time. So I think Andrew Vickers laid it out very well. The alderman expanded. You guys, in a typical use like this, or your hearing like this, you would not have been informed. So it's great that everybody turned out and was included in this going forward. Now, again, please refrain from speaking from the audience. Now, you know, we're looking at the one portion to change the comp plan. And I think Alderman Lorik said it best. Significantly, what changes is when the state put in that interchange and did turn it into a destination. As a business park, multiple uses can go in there, including manufacturing. And one thing we learned from Oakview Business Park is in a neighborhood that abuts Oakview, much like St. John's would abut the portion to the south of you, north of this parcel we're talking about, if it remained business park, it could be M1 industrial. That's been more impactful to the neighbors than probably commercial use. Now, Alderman Gell said whatever happens on the portion, trying to get my directions right, south of Elm, the one we're talking about in question, is going to impact the one north that abuts your neighborhood. I think commercial would probably be less impactful if it turns into commercial than what could be there in a manufacturing setting. With that being said, you know, we are talking about the comp plan for that. I can't add much more to it other than I knew nothing of Buc-ee's as well, and I think the city administrator laid it out. We had to be educated, much like Alderman Lorik. I was in contact with various Buc-ee's around the country, Colorado, Texas, Missouri, and again, they seemed in all my communications to be good partners. I can't speak for where those particular ones are located, but they're all on major thoroughfares. I guess that's the only thing I can say is if this does wind up there, it's probably an appropriate place for it. And it would probably, can't speak for the Franklin side, hopefully improve that side as well. So with that, I will see if the council has any further discussion before I call for a motion. Anybody have anything to say? Okay, seeing none, I'll look for a motion. Excuse me? Hang on. Please. Yes.
Public hearings.
Yeah, there are, and what we're gonna do, we're not moving on both. We're gonna move on the comp plan
Right.
right after your comments.
Yeah, okay. Well, my point was to pick up on what Ms. Lane said, is that a lot of the comments, both from the council and others, were kind of commingled.
We will rerun an entire public hearing.
And I don't want to take up too much time. I do have some comments and responsive comments that I want to make that I think would be relevant to this vote, which is why I raised my hand. But I'll wait till the next public hearing and make them then, if that makes sense.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 5, and that is consideration of the ordinance amending the City of Oak Creek's 2020 Comprehensive Plan land use category from business park to commercial for the properties located at 10700, 10820, and 10840 South 27th Street.
Council motion to adopt ordinance number 3121, amending the City of Oak Creek 2020 Comprehensive Plan land use category from business park to commercial for the properties located at 10700, 10820, and 10840 South 27th Street, tax key number 977-9003-001, 977-900-000, 977-9999-001.
Lorik seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
No.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We will now go on to 6, and that is public hearing to consideration of a request to rezone the properties located at 10700, 10840 South 27th Street from A1 Limited Agriculture District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District and the property at 10820 South 27th Street from RS2 Single Family Residential District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District. Catherine?
Certainly. Public hearing number 2 is to consider a request to rezone the properties located at 10700 and 10840 South 27th Street from A1 Limited Agricultural District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District, and the property at 10820 South 27th Street from RS2 Single Family Residential District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District. Property owner is Greenland Investors LLP. Property location 10700, 10820, and 10840 South 27th Street. There follows the legal description, date of notice, February 19th, 2025.
Thank you, Kathy. Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the Common Council. Christy Lane, Community Development Director. Oops. Sorry. Oh, we lost connection. Sorry. Sorry about that. This public hearing is specific for the request to rezone the 3 parcels, approximately 29 acres in totality. 2 of the 3 parcels are zoned A1 Limited Agriculture, and 1 parcel is zoned RS2 Single Family. The proposed zoning is to convert those 3 parcels to our B6 category. B6 Interchange Regional Retail District is the official name. It's a retail district intended to provide for orderly and attractive grouping of high-intensity destination retail, commercial, and mixed uses along the federal interstate highway system as stated in the city's zoning code. Another area or example of this particular zoning district is the land including IKEA and the land south of IKEA, yet to be developed. There are at least 60 uses listed as permitted and conditional uses in this particular zoning district. Typical uses that could go into this particular category are your standard commercial uses, eating, drinking uses, lodging, retail, medical, vehicle-related uses, service, and recreational uses. Again, the proposed B6 Interchange Retail District rezone meets the intent and the vision of the commercial land use category. The current zoning does not allow for development, increased tax base, nor the city's strategic action plan growth goals. And the proposed amendment does meet the policy and intent of the several goals laid out in the city's strategic action plan. The Plan Commission did review this at their meeting on January 28th and recommended approval at such meeting. That concludes my portion of the public hearing summary.
Okay, thank you, Christy. As this is talking about the rezoning, does the applicant have anything to add, or you? No? Yes? Name and address, sir.
Stan Beard, 327 FM 2004, Lake Jackson, Texas. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, concerning the zoning. Okay. As this is a public hearing, once again, I'll make 3 calls. Many of you filled out slips and it said 4-7. And I know you're new at this. It's usually, the public hearings were 4 and 6. The actions were actually 5 and 7. But I'm going to run through this list again. If anybody has anything pertinent to say on the zoning, please approach the podium, give your name and address. So this will be the first call, and we will call Douglas Dillman. Thank you, sir. Michael? Thank you, sir. Sadie? Have left. Okay. Robert? Art? Kristen? Sarah?
It's disappointing to hear the votes that have gone through when you guys have not vetted all the information as we talked about with traffic and quality of life. This is not the same as IKEA. IKEA has 1 million visitors. This is at least 5 to 6 million. So it's 5 to 6 times the amount of traffic and noise and light, all of it. The map that showed the few that, stores that were next to some homes, they were half the size. They were 50,000 square feet. So we're not even comparing apples to apples. So, you know, just first and foremost. And as far as like Amazon goes, they are 1,200 employees for 3 shifts. So you have 400 people coming, leaving at different times of the day. This is constant all day long. And I know you seem unimpressed. You guys all seem, you've already had your minds made up. I don't feel like any of the things that we say have really impacted, but shame on you. You guys are supposed to represent no matter if you live next to it or not. So I want a house swap with any one of you, especially you.
Thank you, Sarah. Britt? Sitting that way. Left. Levi?
Hi, thanks for the time again. Specifically with the actual rezoning of it, my understanding, maybe one of you can check me if I'm wrong, is that the traffic study that was initiated by the Buc-ee's firm was presented to Wisconsin DOT. They asked for some clarifications or some changes to it, is my understanding, could be wrong. And my understanding is that that hasn't happened. So I'm not even sure how you would vote on this to rezone it if the traffic analysis hasn't been done, whether that's for Buc-ee's or just rezoning it this particular commercial setting with high impact and all those kinds of terms thrown around, I think specifically speaks to the traffic that we're talking about. Not to mention some of the other things, zoning it rezoning it in this way to the neighbor to the south of the property with his farm and his horses, the environmental impacts, all those things. Seems like that should be done and clarified before the property gets rezoned. The zoning for a commercial space like that would have to, or the specific regulations have to be different for something zoned in this commercial style compared to a business park. So I'd love some clarification on how those things, this can get pushed through to where it can kind of be anything, and then you just individually, whoever wants the space decides what they're gonna do with it and how it's gonna impact that doesn't make any sense if the terms and the 60 uses of it, it should cover all of those before you rezone that, should at least have clarification on all 60 of those uses. How would these particular uses affect that zoning?
Thank you, Levi. Michelle?
As I asked before, inappropriately, when is our time to raise these concerns? I get that this is a rezoning to commercial property. Fine, that is what it is. When are we allowed to raise our concerns about Buc-ee's? Again, it's not Buc-ee's, but gas, right? And all the environmental stuff and all this stuff. When is it
Again,
appropriate?
It goes through the process, and the city planner kind of laid it out earlier with hers, that it would be during conditions, restrictions, and plan going forward. Each step of the way is gonna go through something like this. And
Okay.
as the city administrator said, this is probably gonna be a long, drawn-out process. And again, the land use changed. It could still fail along the way somewhere if they don't meet, because we can't answer questions on things we don't have. So we're just here in the zoning right now.
Which I understand. So if this did go through today to rezone, correct, as commercial?
Well, the comp plan will.
That was just the comp plan. It wasn't the rezoning quite yet.
We're doing the rezone right now you're speaking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Joe Sincata?
Joe Sincata, the attorney for the association, 1200 East Capitol Drive in Shorewood. City Administrator, some thoughtful comments. I appreciated your perspective, but I have to push back, and here's why. From your comments, it was clear that when this was presented to you guys in meetings here at the city, people don't know about it. The thought process is, how do we fit this in this location, right? A perspective that I think the folks expect maybe city staff to have is, well, gee whiz, the comp plan doesn't allow this, so can we find another spot for you? That's the perspective I think that's not brought forward, and it reveals kind of the inertia that happens when a big company comes in and says, we want to do this. It's, well, we're going to do it, let's figure out how. And that it pervades kind of what's happening in the comments, in my view, and it really can frustrate the folks. The response might be, well, we're not getting a lot of interest. Well, that's the burden. You pick the comp plan use, and you got to find people for that. And again, based on what I said, people rely on that. Here's why the freeway is not a changed condition. That thing just didn't appear out of nowhere, right? That was planned a long time ago. So the 2020 comp plan considered that. And it picked a use for business park, not commercial. Not to mention, the freeway doesn't mean a Buc-ee's. It means business park. It means other things. So just because you have a freeway isn't a changed condition relevant to the rezoning the comp plan. And what I think happens when you have reasons put forward in this kind of hearing, which are really not substantively supportable, they start to appear to be made up reasons that really haven't really been well thought through. It looks like you're finding reasons, you're searching for reasons that are not well based to approve this for the benefit of the applicant. And that's what we talked about in my letter, which is spot zoning. And it's a problem, and it's screaming out here is what's happening. A lot of courts will say you're okay, they don't want to second guess City Hall, but this one looks like it's spot zoning, and everything's being done to figure out a way to get this applicant what they want and not what the folks want. Like a small note, I did not see any notices that all the notices required to amend the comp plan have gone out. The statute requires that. One of the council person was saying things are irrelevant, then the totality of the circumstances matter. That's absolutely right. Here's the connection. When you make a rezoning, 100 years ago, 60-50, there's no end users in sight. You're making a policy decision. This is about a single project. The end users here, we know what's happening. So traffic, the operation of that facility, those are absolutely relevant to the policy decision of changing the rezoning. It's really not a policy decision. It's an individualized decision about this particular property. So I think there's some concerns with the way that you're functioning here and the perspectives and the presumptions that are being built into how you're deciding this.
You're coming up on your 3, Mr.
I'm
Scott.
actually just over it. I appreciate extra time. But I just think you really got to consider that, because this looks like you're bending over backwards for an applicant that really no one wants in the area. So thank you.
Thank you. Rick? Rick did not wish to speak. Corinne did not want to speak on that. Corinne, you had a second one. Yeah, come on up.
Corinne Stingline, 21667 Evanview Lane. Thank you to our alderperson who is standing up for us. This is unconscionable that you have a man with a horse farm and you never notified him. He never got a notice. He's 300 feet and you're talking 14,000 feet to my door. You're killing horses, and that's okay with you. I get it. Animals are animals, right? But you're taking this person's livelihood. And for the fact that he was not notified, I'm disappointed in everyone who had a hand in that. That sucks. I expect better. And I know your names.
Thank you, Corinne. Kevin Lampy, did you want to say anything on the zoning? You didn't have any numbers on here. But come on up. Oh, yeah, sure.
Kevin Lampy, 8436 South Howell. I'd just like to recap on the gentleman's comment about inertia and how things get going in a direction and then suddenly it's hard to stop. It's happened before, and I hope this current council does a better job at negotiating. Once again, whoever moves in there, if it's Buc-ee's, whoever moves in there, I hope the inertia doesn't happen badly like it has happened in the past. TIFs, I hope that's not going to be a TIF area because that's prime area.
It's currently a TIF and it's closing. It won't.
Okay.
That I can say.
Wow. Hopefully, whoever goes in there carries some of the burden of that brand new off-ramp that just got put in because they're coming in afterwards, but they're getting the full benefit of it. Whoever moves in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Ryan?
Thank you for listening to me once again. I'll piggyback off my comments earlier. As far as the comp plan goes, with the land use recommendation, I'll go back to the fact that, in quotes, it says that it needs to reflect the scale and character of the surrounding neighborhoods and provide day-to-day shopping needs of the nearby households. Back on the January 28th meeting, it was mentioned and almost bragged about that Buc-ee's is considered the Disneyland of gas stations. I don't know how the Disneyland of gas stations has any relevancy to the scale and character, mainly the scale, but I just would like you guys to consider that as well. Once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Ryan. And Katie Studebaker. Thank you, ma'am. As this is public hearing, that was the first call. I will make a second call. Anybody wishing to speak? Approach the podium, name and address. Come on up, ma'am. We need your name and address, please.
Okay, I live at 2054 West St. John's Way, right near where they want to be.
And your name, ma'am?
Gloria Genders. I am just totally appalled by all your behaviors because, you know, there's a property on 13th and Drexel that you could put this nice man's gas station over there, but I suppose you live there, and then maybe that guy lives there, or the guy in the end that lives there. What about us? You know, this is our neighborhood. We take pride in our neighborhood. I went there because it was agricultural, and we get wildlife in our backyard. We get deer, we get all kinds of things, and that's where we want to retire. My husband has a disability. He can't be here tonight, but you know what? This is a big disappointment in my life because now my property taxes are skyrocketing, but the worth of my home is going down. These people don't care, Mr. Texas and Mr. Texas. They don't give a crap about us. It's about our house, my property, and what you're doing to it. You're degrading us, and I hope you're happy with it because you're not welcome here. We are not going to shop at your store. We are not going to be hired out at your store because we are not going to support your store. There is nothing here. We can't even get people to work at Taco Bell. You think we're going to have people coming here?
You're out of order. We're on zoning.
Well, I'm appalled with this because when I built my home, it said agriculture. Overnight, you decide it's commercial, and now everything else. It's not fair. This was a residential area, and that's what it should stand for.
Thank you for your input as opposed to the zoning. Next, sir, name and address.
Jack Marshall, 10245 South Camden. It's more of a question for the folks and potentially, I guess, for the attorney. I live on Oakwood's Chicago's my backyard. That's where I live. Across the street from us was a farm that went up for sale a few years ago, and my wife and I purchased the farm, and that was ag. We rezoned that, worked with the city. I was very happy with working with the city, converted it to residential. There's currently 2 new single-family homes on that property, not our home, that have kept that character and kept that part of the city residential, Oak Creek, sort of country, still trees. So my question is, there's 55 acres. I'm looking at Andrew, I'm trying to remember exactly how big that property is just south of the subdivision. Has anyone considered working together to buy that property and keep it what you want it to be? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This will be the third and final call. Okay, we will, oh, sorry, got one. Name and address, please.
Christopher Bloom, 2118 West St. John's Way. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but after listening to a lot of passionate individuals here, I felt like maybe I could chime in with something maybe that hasn't been said. What we see a lot of tonight is a lot of grown folk. What we don't see tonight is children here presently. And I myself, as a resident of the St. John subdivision, I do have a daughter. And I do see some familiar faces here, and I know for a fact there are many families in the subdivision with small children specifically. There's a lot of small children. I would say ages, from infancy, toddlers, young school age, which is a great thing, and that's what's great about that subdivision is you know your neighbors. Gloria is actually my neighbor. So I can say, great, nice job, Gloria. That being said, I think what we have to think about is the future for our children. And all of us in this room are at different points in our life, different age groups in our life. And I think what perhaps is going to be the most impacted by this decision is going to be children of the future, those children, and what's going to directly impact. Now, I know we're talking about one specific plot of land. I'm going to step away. I mean, Bucky's aside from that. Okay, we're talking one area that's being zoned, right? Now, we're talking the plot just north of that, what it's going to be next, and what's to come. And Alderman Gazowski, I believe, or Guile, I'm sorry, said point, it's going to set a course of things to come, and inevitability, right? And you can plan ahead and say, well, okay, well, this happened, well, this is going to happen, and a lot of domino effect cascade. Well, necessarily, you don't have to allow that happen. You can stand at any point in time and make a decision that's going to say, will this directly impact the future? How will it impact the future? And will it impact the future positively or negatively? Sorry if I'm rambling, but I think the point what I'm trying to say is use your better decision, not just for what's maybe on a fiscal budget or fiscal year, what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years. Look at what's going to happen down the road. And someone else had said it, what happens in 30 years if businesses falter and who knows with the economy, what's going to happen in the future. No one can predict those economic standpoints, right? We don't want to speculate on that, right? So bottom line, I think look like into your hearts, dig deep, think of everyone, right? We're a small portion of Oak Creek. Oh, what is 30,000 residents, 36,000? I don't know the exact count. I think the people that are here tonight it's very obvious we're not for said Bucky's and we're not for said rezoning, right? But where are the people that are supporting this? I hear the other rhetoric that speaks of, well, there's this great support. Where are those people tonight? And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sean Marshall. I live in 1626 Minnesota Avenue, South Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I wanted to come here because I wanted to speak my piece about this. I feel that there's a lot of really great points about specific zoning for this location. If, say, it were to be rezoned or be used for, not commercial activity, but for, say, a manufacturing activity, right? If it was used for some sort of chemical manufacturing, like PPG is used for example, would you like that same type of activity being done in your community, or would you oppose that equally, right? And then also to the same point, there's other community members like me, for example, that actually think that this is a relatively decent idea. Like, there's jobs that are going to be brought to the area. There's benefits to the community, just generally speaking, from the amount of investment that's going to come into the community from the businesses that will be sponsored and brought up by this proposal. So I don't see why I kind of mirror this as well. If you guys don't like this particular action and you feel that it's not the right area for this particular property, band together and maybe buy the plot, right? And then maybe sell it off and make it another residential location. That's a very usable, doable thing, right? You can get investment. You could sell off the acreage, make it into more residential living, potentially have it rezoned that way. So,
Please, no speaking from the audience.
if it's being rezoned this way, why can't it be rezoned a different way, right? Very, very simple in my mind. So, at least in terms of if that's what you want. So maybe do that.
Thank you. As this is the third and final call. Okay, I will close the public hearing. You've been up, sir. No, I do. You've been up before, sir. I will now close the public hearing. That is item 6. And we will move on to consideration in item 7 of an ordinance rezoning the properties located at 10700 and 10840 South 27th Street from A1 Limited Agriculture District to B6 Interchange Regional District, and the property at 1048 South 27th Street from RS2 Single Family Residential District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District. We'll open it up to the council for discussions, questions, comments. Steve,
No comments regarding this item.
Greg,
Nothing on the rezone. I mean, I have a lot of notes and questions for following meetings, but for the rezone, nothing.
thank you. Jim,
Questions?
Good.
Lisa, Ken,
I'm good. It's Dan.
Chris.
I'm good.
With that, I'll call for a motion.
Clerk moves to approve ordinance number 3122, rezoning the properties located at 10700 and 10840 South 27th Street from A1 Limited Agricultural District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District, and the property at 10840 South 27th Street from RS2 Single Family Residential District to B6 Interchange Regional Retail District.
Marshall, second.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Marshall. Aye. Gale?
No.
Guzekowski?
Aye.
Kirkowski?
Aye.
Lorick?
Aye.
Ritz?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. At this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess if anybody needs a bathroom break, and we will resume with item 8. 5 minutes, folks.
A public hearing, anybody can come, yeah.
Okay. We will now resume the meeting. Under new business, item 8. Can we close partially the glass doors, one side of them? Tom, can you get those for us, please? Just one side, Mark. Oh, don't break that thing. I'm warning you, big guy. He's like a giant. Oh, man.
Giant titty bear.
Okay, item 8, consideration of a motion to concur with the Personnel and Finance Committee and amend the Personnel Policy 7.20 unpaid leave of absence to include part-time, non-represented employees. Max has it.
Max Gagan, Deputy City Administrator and Finance Officer. So before you tonight is amendment to Personal Policy 7.20, which is our unpaid leave of absence policy. And for this, full-time non-represented employees can currently request an unpaid leave of absence, and that goes to the city administrator, which can be granted for up to 30 days. And then any additional days up to 90 days has to be approved by the Personnel and Finance Committee. When we were reviewing this policy, I recognize that this benefit's only extended to our full-time non-represented staff, and we've recently had 2 requests from part-time non-represented employees asking for an unpaid leave of absence. So given that we've seen some additional inquiries from the Human Resources Department, we did bring this forth to the Personnel and Finance Committee and ask if we would like to extend the same benefit to our regular part-time staff, which there are roughly about 25 of them in the organization. So with that, we did present that to the Personnel and Finance Committee on March 12th, and they unanimously agreed that we should extend this, or they recommend the Common Council extend this to regular part-time employees as well. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Max. Questions, concerns, discussion for Max? Anybody? Steve?
It was a very easy discussion at Personnel and Finance to make this change. It seemed very reasonable, and the fact that it affected, it was going to affect a couple of employees that that were good employees, and so it was felt the right thing to do to make this change.
Thanks for the input. Appreciate it.
Ditto.
Yeah, Danny, Personnel and Finance Committee last week had a nice discussion on this topic. Management approached this with a particular situation that they've seen crop up. There was 2 individuals that were particularly affected by the current policy, and we thought, given the fact that it gives the city administrator a decent amount of flexibility in dealing with these on an ad hoc basis and gives the Common Council the opportunity to weigh in on more substantive situations, strikes a good balance in being able to retain quality employees if there's circumstances that warrant.
I agree. I always say we got great employees. We got to take care of them, or they're going to be somebody else's great employees. Good move. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, at the motion on 8.
Gail move to concur with the Personnel and Finance Committee and amend Personal Policy 7.20 to include part-time non-represented employees.
Marshall, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye.
And item 9 is consideration of motion to concur with the mayor's appointment, Board of Health 3-year term expiring in 10/25 to Michael Havey. Application is in your packet. If you'd like to look it over. Any questions or discussions? I can take them.
It's a great choice.
No, I'm glad he stepped up to spare his time. Yes.
I will say, Mike Havey, he was in attendance today, so he did want to thank you. That's what he asked me to relay. He's very appreciative. He didn't realize there was another item, so he had other obligations, but he did want to be here, and he's very thankful for your consideration.
I'm glad he stepped up to share his time and experience.
It'll be great on Board of Health.
There's no further questions. Motion, please.
Marshall will move to concur with the mayor's appointment as follows. Board of Health, 3-year term for vacancy expiring 10/2025 from Michael Havney, 1321 West Lois Lane.
Gill, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Number 10 is library, and it's to consider a motion to approve the purchase of RFID equipment from Biblioteca? Biblioteca. Okay. Boy, do I need to go to the library. For $158,070. Jill, welcome.
Thank you. Jill Lininger, Library Director. So as part of the 2025 capital improvements budget, this is a item, all of our RFID equipment, which is what we use for checking in and checking out books, as well as the collection management is outdated and needs to be replaced. We went out for we reached out to several different vendors. Biblioteca is our current vendor, and they were able to offer us they were able to best meet our needs. So this is a request to move forward with purchasing all of the equipment, which will be installed over the course of this calendar year.
Questions for Jill?
How long have we had the previous RFID?
It came with the building, so it's 10 years old.
Okay. That typical service life or just improvements in technology?
A little bit of both. They are no longer, so the equipment that we purchased prior to moving into the building and the equipment that we currently have, within a couple of months of moving into the building, Biblioteca actually bought that company. So the equipment was already outdated shortly after we moved in, but they have been servicing it and they've been doing a great job. So this is just the next iteration of it. The equipment's smaller, it's faster, it's more efficient, and they are no longer servicing the old equipment.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, motion?
Marshall will move to approve the purchase of RFID equipment from Biblioteca for $158,070.
Work seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye. And item 11 is engineering. It's consideration of a resolution approving a stormwater management practices maintenance agreement with 8385 Newberry LLC for the Newberry Place development located at 8383 South Newberry Drive. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor, Common Council, Matt Sullivan, Assistant City Administrator and City Engineer. Before you is that resolution for the Stormwater Management Practice Maintenance Agreement. This is for a development, an existing multifamily development on the southwest quadrant of Chicago and Forest Hill. What they're looking to do is improve their space with pickleball, pools, some storage, and other things for their tenants. It's a good use of their land. We've worked through the plans and the stormwater maintenance, and it has been approvable on our end and sent to MMSD and approved. This is just the next step in approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Matt? Okay, seeing no discussion, motion.
Marshall will move to approve resolution number 12546-031825, approving a stormwater management practices maintenance agreement with 8385 Newberry LLC for the Newberry Place development located at 8383 South Newberry Drive.
Guzekowski, second. Roll call.
Alderman Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye. And item 12 is a resolution, consideration of a resolution acquiring fee property right-of-way and temporary easements for the Liberty and Putes intersection improvements project, and to send a payment in the amount of the award of damages to the affected property owners. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. Matt Sullivan, Assistant City Administrator and City Engineer. This is for authorization for us to send out payment for a fee and TLE for the upcoming project on Hewitt's and Liberty Lane, which was the roundabout, which has been approved. The contract has been awarded. We are now working through our right-of-way needs to improve this. There are 5 parcels total. These improvements and fee include moving some of the signs, particularly for U-Haul, that's nearest the railroad tracks. We had to purchase significant amount of right-of-way from them, but this makes us whole there. The right-of-way actually was much closer than the rest of the parcels throughout there. This also includes any damages like trees, landscaping, and minor things like that. We still have 3 parcels, but we do have agreements. We have the final documents coming. That'll be at our next council meeting. What this does, it allows us to do our final relocations of utilities prior to the contract actually starting. This provides us 2 months approximately to get that done, which is ample amount of time to complete what we need to do. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Matt regarding that? Okay, seeing no discussion, motion.
Clerk moves to approve resolution number 12565-031825, acquiring fee property right-of-way and temporary easements for the Liberty and Buttes Intersection Improvements Project, and to send a payment in the amount of the award of damages to the affected property owners.
Ritzel, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. And item 13 is the License Committee. I will turn that over to Alderman Kirkowski.
Thank you, Mayor. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the items on tonight's Common Council report. Does anybody have any questions, cares, or concerns? Guess what? I do. I just want to let you guys know that, yeah, surprise, surprise, right? If you may have noticed at the last meeting when we talked about Houndstown, Milwaukee, item number 3, I might have shown a little hesitation. I just want to let you know that Christy and I met with Andrew, and I had some questions for him, and he answered my concerns that I had, and so I was satisfied with that, and just want to let you guys know that that happened.
Great. Yeah, that was a topic of discussion.
Okay.
And
So-
planning as well. Okay.
Having said that, Kirkowski will make a motion to approve the various license requests as listed on the March 18, 2025 License Committee report.
Clerk's seconds.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
And item 14 is consideration for a motion to approve the March 12, 2025 vendor summary report in the amount of $448,014.30. If you have any questions, please take the floor and ask the appropriate person that you believe can answer. Satisfied? There's no questions, discussions? Motion.
Marshall will move to approve the March 12th, 2025 vendor summary report in the amount of $448,014.30.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Okay. That'll get us to adjournment. Anybody want to say it? I want to thank you all for your patience. It was a long meeting. Things like that, I think Andrew said it very well. It really sets up to us, them type thing, and it's really not the fact, and it's hard to understand the processes that go on up here. But you've actually been through it a number of times. But all in all, it works. Not always to everybody's favor, but at least in their mind. But it did work. So to the staff, thank you very much. All those questions that were asked, all the alderpersons have notes. And as we move through the process of conditions and restrictions, and so on and so forth, these things will be addressed. But it's hard to stick to that agenda, just comp plan and zoning. Again, somebody always brings up the crystal ball. It's hard to say what the future brings. So, with that, I want to thank you. And if there's no other discussion, motion for adjournment.
Clerk moves to adjourn.
Ritzel, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Perfect. Night, everybody.